No one expected the courtroom to go silent like that. Not when the case was about a messy divorce between a wealthy architect and his wife. They'd been fighting for months over assets, custody, everything. But silence fell like a guillotine. The second Ethan Reeves stepped toward the witness stand, pulled a cordless trimmer from his briefcase, and without a word, turned to his soon-to-be ex-wife, Olivia, and shaved her head. Just one long, slow pass across the top of her scalp. Gasps rang out. The judge yelled. Olivia froze, lips parted, eyes wide, while the courtroom descended into chaos. Her long, dark hair fell to the floor like silk cut from a rope. No. One moved fast enough. No one believed it was actually happening. And by the time the bailiff reached him, Ethan had already dropped the buzzing clipper and backed away like a man possessed. I warned her, he said, voice eerily calm. She made me do it. People talked about it for weeks. It made the local papers the next morning, and by nightfall it was on every news feed. Millionaire architect publicly shaves wife's head mid-trial. Everyone had their own theory. She cheated, she blackmailed him, maybe he finally snapped. But no one knew the real reason. Olivia never gave interviews. She disappeared until 8 months later. When she returned, it started with a billboard. Right in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, where traffic dragged for hours, a massive electronic billboard flickered to life with Olivia's face. Bold, fierce, unapologetic, and underneath it, in bold white letters, he thought he humiliated me. Watch what I do next. And that was just the beginning. People said she left the country after the incident, went off the grid. But Olivia wasn't running, she was planning. She'd been married to Ethan Reeves for 6 years, long enough to know how to break him. And it wasn't going to be through court. See, Ethan always prided himself on image. The sleek glass buildings, the clean-cut lifestyle, the flashy magazine interviews. He didn't build homes, he built legacies. And his wife. She was part of that image. Perfect hair, perfect dresses, perfect smile. Everything manicured like his blueprints. When she found out about the mistress, no, not just 1, 3. It wasn't the betrayal that crushed her. It was how he laughed in her face when she confronted him. You won't leave, he'd said. Where would you even go looking like that? You're just my accessory. So Olivia made a plan. She played the role of the broken wife during the trial. Cried in public, showed up late to court with bags under her eyes. Everyone believed she was unraveling. And then Ethan took the bait. The head shaving? That wasn't rage, that was control. A last-ditch performance to ruin her. Humiliate her so badly she'd never show her face again. But she didn't break. She built something instead. Her first move? A podcast. Shaved, not silenced. Raw, unfiltered, brutally honest. The very first episode? A full retelling of what happened in that courtroom. Not from the media's point of view, but hers. What she felt, what she remembered, what he whispered when no one else could hear. Within 24 hours it hit 1 million downloads. Sponsors came knocking, people rallied around her. Survivors of abusive marriages, controlling partners, narcissistic gaslighters. She wasn't just a story, she was a movement. But Olivia wasn't finished. She wasn't just going to reclaim her story. She was going to take his. And that started with the thing Ethan loved most, his reputation. The first time Ethan saw the billboard, he was stuck in traffic on Sunset Boulevard with his assistant, Lexi, scrolling through her phone beside him. He didn't see it at first. She did. Holy Ethan, look. He followed her gaze, and there it was. Olivia's face gleaming under the harsh LA sun, bold and bold, staring down like a goddess of vengeance. That caption, he thought he humiliated me. Watch what I do next. Slapped the air out of his lungs. He didn't speak, just clenched the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Do something, Lexi muttered. You can't let that stay up. You're Ethan Reeves. But the billboard wasn't the problem. It was the message behind it. It told the world something Ethan hated more than anything else, that he lost control. When he got home, he smashed a glass against the wall. Alone? Now Lexi was just for the car, not the nights. He paced like a caged animal. He went straight to his lawyer, threatened lawsuits, demanded takedowns, ordered PR teams to bury her in the media. But it didn't work. Olivia had something stronger than a campaign. She had a story, and people were listening. Meanwhile, Olivia worked in silence. Not silence, really. She was everywhere. But her moves were quiet, strategic. She'd hired her team, not lawyers, investigators, hackers, PR wolves. Ethan had buried a lot over the years. Skeletons in closets with names, photos, receipts. Olivia knew about the affairs. But what she didn't know, what even Ethan had forgotten, was how deep his arrogance ran. Let's rewind. 3 years ago, Ethan had overseen a massive commercial project downtown. A sleek 40-floor building with his name on it, the Reeves Tower. It was supposed to be LEED certified, green tech, cutting edge. Only it wasn't. He cut corners, bribed inspectors, pushed cheap materials to pocket more profit. And now? Now someone leaked the original blueprints to a certain whistleblower site, along with a voice recording of Ethan saying, "No one cares what it's made of, as long as it sparkles." The headlines the next morning: Reeves Tower scandal, unsafe materials, leaked audio sparks investigation. Ethan's phone blew up. His firm froze contracts, sponsors pulled out, and Olivia, she didn't say a word. Just dropped episode 6 of her podcast, When Your Abuser Builds Towers on Lies. The episode never mentioned Ethan by name. She didn't need to. Behind the scenes, Ethan spiraled. Publicly, he tried to spin it. "Cancel culture nonsense," he told a news anchor. "This is a targeted attack from a bitter ex." But privately, he was unraveling. He fired half his team. Lexi quit. The board was asking questions he didn't have answers to. Even his family, his estranged brother, his stepmother, suddenly wanted distance. And then came the email. No name, no signature, just a file and one sentence. "You shaved her head in public. Let's see what happens when I shave your soul." The file? Hundreds of pages, photos, messages, testimonies, proof Ethan had done worse than cheat. There were NDAs, quiet settlements, threats. At least 3 women who claimed he used coercion to silence them after things went too far. And now, someone was compiling it all. The email came from an encrypted burner address. Ethan panicked, called in a digital forensics firm, but nothing traced back. He knew who was behind it, though. Olivia. She wasn't just getting revenge, she was redefining it. The media frenzy exploded within 48 hours. Articles flew out like bullets. The New York Ledger called it the slow-motion implosion of a real estate king. A local paper ran the headline, "Architect or Predator? The Women Who Stayed Silent Until Now." And all Ethan could do was watch the empire he built start to crack, brick by lying brick. His phone never stopped. Calls from board members, investors, fake friends trying to sniff out if the rumors were true. His own PR team turned on him. And then came the subpoenas. It was no longer just a smear campaign. It was a criminal investigation. 2 former interns filed formal complaints. One claimed Ethan threatened her career when she refused to go to a private meeting at a hotel. Another had emails, real ones, where he promised her a promotion in exchange for loyalty and silence. Ethan stared at those printed screenshots. In his lawyer's office, like they were in a foreign language. "She set me up," he muttered. His lawyer, James Holbrook, a man who'd pulled clients out of worse, just shook his head. "She didn't have to. You did this shot yourself. She just knew where to dig." But here's the thing. Olivia didn't stop with documents. She knew the legal side would take its course. That was the slow burn. She wanted the humiliation. The same kind he handed her in that courtroom, clippers buzzing, hair falling, like ashes. So she gave an anonymous tip to an independent documentary crew, up-and-coming filmmakers hungry for scandal, truth, and ratings. She handed them names, dates, footage, and just one line to open the film. The man who built towers didn't realize how fast they crumble when the truth hits the foundation. They called it the cut, power, control, and the price of silence. Netflix bought it in 4 days. A trailer dropped 2 weeks later, slick, haunting, unforgettable. It opened with footage of Olivia from court. Head bowed, hair falling, judges screaming in the background, freeze frame, cut to black. Narrator's voice. This was the moment the world saw a woman fall, but no one asked why. The internet did the rest. People dissected every second. Women posted videos shaving their heads in solidarity. The hashtag #MonShavedNotSilenced flooded feeds across the country. And Ethan? He couldn't leave his house without cameras stalking him. Protesters graffitied Predator Palace on his office windows. Clients cancelled, collaborators fled. And then came the final knife. One night, a week after the documentary dropped, Olivia posted a photo on her Instagram, her first in almost a year. She stood in front of her mirror, completely bald, wearing a white dress, calm, glowing, holding a single key in her hand. Caption, "Took my power back. Found what you hid. Let's see what your father thinks." That key, it unlocked something Ethan had forgotten existed, a private storage unit under a fake name, set up 6 years ago when he thought he was invincible. He used it to hide cash, paperwork, even hard drives, a just-in-case bunker no one was supposed to find, but Olivia did. She had his fingerprints, his ID scans. She hired a data recovery specialist. Inside those hard drives, video footage. Footage Ethan thought he deleted. Footage he never wanted seen. And now, Olivia had it all. Ethan barely slept. He paced the halls of his mansion like a man sentenced but not yet executed. Every creak in the wood made his heart race. Every buzz on his phone made his stomach drop. He hadn't told his lawyer about the storage unit. How could he? That place wasn't just a stash of shady business records. It was a tomb of his own arrogance. He set it up back when he was still trying to hide the worst of himself. Not the affairs, not the bribes, the other stuff. The stuff he couldn't even say out loud in his own head. And now Olivia had it. She hadn't posted any of it. Not yet. But that key, that caption, that smirk in her photo. It said everything. She was holding the guillotine rope. He tried calling her. 10 times, no answer. Texts, emails, nothing. She was quiet, and that silence roared louder than any headline. The files weren't encrypted because Ethan had been careless. Because he never thought he'd be caught. Olivia sat cross-legged on the couch in a rented studio apartment with no name on the lease and blackout curtains drawn. Her assistant, Kendra, sat beside her, laptop open, playing clips one by one. Olivia didn't blink. The videos weren't pornographic. They were worse. They were casual cruelty. Hidden camera recordings from his office, some in the back rooms, of restaurants, hotel lobbies, even his car. He had installed them himself, some paranoid obsession with keeping leverage. In one, a young employee, barely 20, was crying while Ethan stood over her, arms crossed. "You'll sign the agreement, or your internship becomes a headline." In another, he laughed with a friend about faking harassment complaints to tank a rival's career. "I call it character assassination with a bow on top." And then, one video that changed everything. It wasn't just a woman, it was a girl. She couldn't have been older than 17. She looked terrified. Olivia paused the video, hands shaking, lips pressed together in horror. She couldn't watch the rest, not alone. "This isn't revenge anymore," Kendra said softly beside her. "This is justice." Olivia nodded once, no hesitation. They compiled a package, a digital dossier with timelines, victims, evidence, and clear-as-day video proof. They didn't send it to the press. They sent it straight to the district attorney's office, and just like that, the game changed. The knock came at 6:42 a.m. Ethan had just stepped out of the shower, thinking he had one more day before she struck. Wrong. He opened the door, towel around his waist, to the sight of 3 federal agents and 2 LAPD officers. "Mr. Reeves," one said, "we have a warrant for your arrest." He didn't even ask why, just nodded, like his body already knew the war was lost. He was handcuffed on the marble floor of his own foyer, the morning sun slicing through stained glass windows, as if mocking him. Across town, Olivia sipped her tea, calm, alone. She didn't smile. This wasn't about joy. It was about the weight finally being lifted. The moment Justice stopped whispering and started roaring, but the headlines that followed weren't just about the arrest. They were about the survivors. Women stepped forward. 4, then 7, then 12. And one of them, a face Ethan would have never expected. Lexi, his former assistant, the one who saw the billboard and said, "Do something." She did. She testified. "I knew what he was," she said in an exclusive interview, tears streaming. "But I didn't have the strength to stand up until Olivia did. She gave us the courage." The interviewer asked Olivia why she never released the videos herself. Her answer: "Because I didn't want to break him in public. I wanted the truth to do it." Ethan sat in a holding cell, sleepless and stunned. His hands trembled as he stared at the white walls. For a man who spent years building skyscrapers, it was strange how small a jail cell could make you feel. His lawyer hadn't called. No visitors. No press statements. He was radioactive. But Ethan wasn't thinking about the charges or the headlines or Olivia. He was thinking about the other box, the one Olivia hadn't found, the one that could ruin both of them. 12 miles away, Olivia scrolled through hundreds of new messages. Supporters, survivors, journalists, even celebrities quoting her podcast. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. She finally felt seen. Then came a message flagged by Kendra's filtering software. Not from a troll or bot, not even from the press. It was from Ethan's half-brother, Joel. She hadn't heard from Joel since a fundraiser 6 years ago. Back then, he was just another stiff in a tuxedo with too much champagne and too little backbone. The message was short. "There's something you need to see. Something Ethan hid from both of us." Olivia hesitated. Part of her wanted to delete it and forget. The other part, the voice that had grown sharper since Ethan shaved her head in front of strangers, leaned in. She replied, "Talk." They met at a quiet cafe in Pasadena. Joel looked older, pale, nervous. He slid an envelope across the table like it was radioactive. Inside was a flash drive. "I didn't know what he'd done to you," Joel said, "but when I saw the news, I remembered something from Dad's will. Ethan was terrified when it came up, thought I'd found out. But I didn't know what he was hiding until I broke into the backup storage after his arrest." Olivia said nothing. She took the drive and left. Back at her apartment, Olivia plugged it in, one folder, untitled. Inside, scanned documents. Photos, voice memos, and at the center of it all, a DNA report. She stared at it for a long time. Then her breath hitched. Her name was on it. So was Ethan's. Not as husband and wife. As siblings, half-siblings. Her heart stopped. She read it again, and again. Her hands shook. The document was from years ago, dated before they even married. It wasn't fake. It had lab signatures, verified samples, full markers. She started, gasping, eyes wide, mouth dry. Then came a second file, a video. Ethan, staring into the camera, years younger, calm, smirking. "If you're watching this, I guess the secret's out." "Yeah, I know. Sick, right? Guess it's not illegal if you—" "Don't tell her." He knew all these years, and he married her anyway. She collapsed onto the couch, the air sucked clean from the room. All the betrayal, all the humiliation, everything she'd endured. This changed everything. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was a crime on both sides of a truth she never asked for. She had loved him, trusted him, gave him her body, her secrets, her soul. And he knew they shared blood. He let her love him anyway. She began to sob, not loud, not messy, just hollow. He hadn't just humiliated her. He'd broken her on a level no one else could touch. By morning, she'd deleted her podcast, scrubbed her socials. The world thought she was taking a break after justice had been served. But inside, she was spiraling. Because now, she didn't know who she was anymore. Olivia didn't sleep for 3 days. She didn't eat much either. Just stared at the same wall until the sun came and went, and then came again. Her thoughts weren't even thoughts anymore. Just flashes of memories, each one now soaked in something filthy. The wedding, the honeymoon, the night they lost their baby. She could still hear Ethan's voice in her ear that night, holding her hand in the hospital room, whispering, "It's okay, we'll try again. We were meant to be." Meant to be. The words made her want to rip her skin off. She had told herself she was healing, that shaving her head, exposing him, watching him get arrested, that all of that was a ladder out of the pit he'd thrown her into. But now she realized she'd only climbed deeper, just to find the walls went higher than she ever imagined. The worst part wasn't that Ethan was her half-brother. The worst part was knowing he'd chosen her because of that. He'd targeted her, seduced her, married her. Not in spite of the blood they shared, but because of it. Joel's message confirmed it. Ethan had known the truth for years. Their father, a man Olivia never met, had left traces all over LA. A bastard child here, an abandoned mother there. Ethan found her when she applied for a design internship with his firm, and the rest was a slow burn manipulation. Every compliment, every gift, every moment, crafted, scripted, staged. She had been part of a performance she never auditioned for. Kendra showed up on the 4th day, let herself in with the spare key and dropped her bag on the floor. "Get up," she said. Olivia didn't move. Kendra sat down, handed her a bottle of water. "You think it's over? That this was his final move?" Olivia blinked slowly. "It wasn't," Kendra whispered. "He wanted you to disappear after this. To dissolve in shame, but if you do that, you don't win. He does, even from a jail cell." Something in Olivia flickered. "You said you wanted to take everything from him. The man, the myth, the legacy. You think this DNA bomb erases that?" Kendra leaned in. "No, this is the final nail. This is what buries him forever." Olivia sat up, not fast, not strong, but something in her was stirring again. Not the rage this time, not even revenge, just clarity. By the end of the week, Olivia dropped one final podcast episode. No intro, no music, just her voice, raw, controlled. "I found something I wasn't meant to find. Something that explains why he chose me, why he married me, why he ruined me with a smile on his face. It made me sick. And then it made me quiet. But I realized something while I was sitting in that silence. He doesn't get to rewrite my story, I do." Then she did what no one expected. She published the DNA results, not anonymously, not leaked, directly from her. The media exploded. Went beyond scandal. It became legend. Every news outlet ran it. Wife exposes incest marriage. Husband knew all along. Architect's legacy officially reduced to ashes. Olivia Reeves shocks world again and ends it on her terms. Some called her brave, others called her cursed, but no one called her silent. Ethan's company folded in under a month. All his awards were revoked. The Reeves Tower was renamed. He went from respected to erased, and Olivia, she disappeared. No interviews, no brand deals, no books, just silence. Until one final billboard showed up. Same street, same spot. But this time, a plain black background with one line. In white, "He broke me, but I buried him." 1 year passed. No one had seen Olivia since the billboard. Theories flooded the internet. She moved to Europe. She checked into a monastery. She was in hiding, starting over. Some believed she died. Others swore they saw her in disguise at the airport in Copenhagen or buying oranges in Bogota. But none of them were right. She didn't run. She rebuilt, not in the spotlight, not on the internet. In silence. Where Ethan had once tracked her every move, she now moved in complete shadow. A ghost with power and one final story to tell. It started with a letter. A plain white envelope delivered to the Observer, a mid-level digital publication known for deep investigative dives. The editor, Alicia Nguyen, opened it herself. Inside was a handwritten note. "I have the blueprints for men like him. I've seen the cracks in their foundations. You want the story? You'd better bring a shovel." There was no signature, but she knew. Inside the envelope was a single USB, encrypted, locked with one password. What he used to call me. Alicia guessed wrong 5 times. Then she tried accessory. It unlocked. And what was inside? A data vault, documents, letters, audio recordings, hundreds of pages of names, men just like Ethan, untouchable ones, men in power, corporate, political, media, men who had paid for silence, buried evidence, rewritten their sins with money and influence. Each file had a title. Each title matched the layout of a building Ethan once designed. He didn't just build towers, he hid monsters inside them, and Olivia had been watching the whole time. Turns out Olivia's revenge was never just about Ethan. She'd known about the others even before the court shaved her dignity away. She found them during the investigation. Investors, donors, clients Ethan protected because they knew what he did and didn't care. Or worse, they'd done the same. She couldn't destroy them all with a podcast, but she could burn them down one by one, quietly, strategically, publicly, until every man who enabled Ethan became a headline too. And she wasn't doing it alone. Because somewhere in the fire, she built something new, a network, a digital, underground run by women like her. They called themselves the Foundation, a bitter joke about men who built towers of power on the backs of ruined women. No names, no faces, just whispers. And Olivia, she was the blueprint. By the time the first expose went live, about a tech CEO who'd assaulted 3 interns and paid for 2 abortions, people knew who was behind it. Even without a signature, her legend had outgrown her name. They didn't call her Olivia anymore. They called her the Architect of Ruin. She never stepped into the light again. She didn't need to, because now her shadow was big enough to make the giants tremble. It had been nearly 2 years since Ethan Reeves's arrest, since the podcast, since the DNA test shattered Olivia's soul. The world had moved on, or tried to. The Foundation continued its quiet war. The men fell one after another. Towers crumbled, careers evaporated, legacies turned to dust. But one day on a rainy Tuesday in March, an envelope slid under Olivia's door. No stamp, no address, just her name. Handwritten, cursive. She stared at it for 5 full minutes before picking it up. Inside, a photograph. Old, faded, torn at the edges. A hospital room. A newborn baby. A woman who looked like her, but older, thinner, eyes sunken from exhaustion. In the corner of the photo, scribbled in marker, "You were never his." And a name, Dr. Helene M. Brooks. Olivia's pulse thundered. She flipped. The photo. Another note was taped to the back. "I promised I'd tell you when he couldn't hurt us anymore." The hospital was gone, condemned and converted into high-rise condos, but Dr. Helene Brooks was alive. 83, living in a nursing home in Northern California. Kendra drove Olivia there, quiet the whole ride. Neither of them spoke. When they arrived, Olivia walked in alone. She found Helene by a window, watching rain trickle down the glass. Like tears, the sky forgot how to cry properly. "You look just like your mother," the doctor said before Olivia even introduced herself. "And nothing like him." Olivia's knees nearly gave out. Dr. Brooks told her the story. There was a man, her biological father, but it wasn't Ethan's father. It was someone else. Olivia's mother had been seeing both at the same time during a rough patch, and after she died, after all the dust settled, no one questioned paternity. Ethan's father claimed her in the will out of guilt, not truth. It was Ethan who forged the DNA test. He wanted her to think they were blood. Because he knew, if she ever believed that, she'd never fully heal. It wasn't just about control anymore. It was possession beyond the grave. Olivia sat there, stunned. "I always suspected," Dr. Brooks said. "But when he was arrested, I waited. And when the world forgot him, I sent that picture." Back at her apartment, Olivia stood in front of the mirror. She hadn't looked at herself, really looked, since the last billboard. She ran her fingers through her hair. It had grown back now, thick, full, dark. Not a single strand belonged to Ethan. And suddenly, she smiled. Not the tight, angry smile she wore for cameras. Not the fake smile she gave interviewers before she disappeared. A real smile. She wasn't his sister. She never was. He didn't just lose. He died clinging to a lie he built to break her. And now, even that was gone. Olivia reached into her closet, pulled out a sealed box marked Archive. Inside the last podcast mic she ever used, she plugged it in, and recorded one final episode, episode 00, The Lie That Built a Monster. You thought this story was about a man who broke me. It wasn't. It was about a man who tried to own me, who tried to cut me down until I disappeared, and, when I didn't, he rewrote the truth. But here's what he never understood. You can only rewrite something if you were the author to begin with. And this story was mine all along. The episode went viral in hours. The world wept, screamed, applauded. But Olivia didn't care about any of it, because now she was free. And Ethan Reeves, once a man who shaved her head in a courtroom, to own her wasn't even a memory worth hating anymore, just a blueprint she used to build herself.